Hey, it's time for another 31 Days of Horror 2018 Toronto After Dark edition video. Yes, we are going with movie number 11 of this season and like movie number 8, I think, of Toronto After Dark. 2, 4, 6, yes, 8. And we are going with the world premiere of the Canadian film Extracurricular. Yes. This is a, like I said, Canadian film. And it's very, it's a low-budget Canadian film, essentially shot in like 17 days. Believe it or not, 17 days. Crazy that they managed to pull this off and so well in such a short time. I've known of short films that took a lot longer than that to shoot, so wow. Pretty impressive. The film has a lot of nobodies involved. I'll mention them, but you won't know who they are. They've either never done anything before or they've never done anything that you would likely know. First is director Ray XU. I believe this is his first real film, and he was essentially, I think he dropped out of film school, and he was making a lot of shorts and stuff with his buddies, and I guess his agent or friend or somebody just kept trying to get him something, and somebody saw what he was doing and gave him a shot, and this is what he ended up getting into. So kudos to him. Because, yeah, I think he did a pretty decent job. This is a film written by two people, Matthew Abrams and Padget Arongo. I could be saying that improperly, but hopefully not. Neither of which really have any extensive writing credits to their names. Where you do get some of the names that you may recognize would be in the cast. Now, essentially, Extracurricular deals with a high school. It is the Extracurricular refers to a group of 4 students who get together in a club of sorts, a serial killer club, we'll call it, where, the 4 get together and plan, killing. They plan to kill people. And of course, 2 of the 4 individuals, their father happens to be, well, I won't, yeah, I'll give it away. It happens to be a police officer, and that's played by probably the most well-known person out of here, Luke Goss. He's been in Hellboy 2, Blade 2, One Night with the King, where he was King Xerxes, Tekken, etc., etc., etc. Like, he's been in so many different things and like not small parts, but like decent parts. So he would probably be the one person you would recognize out of anybody in it. But then you get these 4 teenagers. The first one probably don't really get, you probably don't know her. It's Brittany Teo, or Teo, I think it's Teo, who, I mean, in terms of genre work, she was in, she had a small part in Arrival, if that helps you at all. But I didn't recognize her or anything that she'd been in. Her love interest is played by Keenan Tracy, who is playing one of the 2 brothers, Derek Gordon, and he has been in a few things that you would probably recognize him for. He's actually been doing quite well for himself. But if you watch the television The 100, he played the part of Sterling. If you watch the television show The Returned, which for some reason I think they have a similar concept, he played Ben Lowry. But you would most likely know him for Bates Motel, where he played Gunner for quite a bit. And then he's been in other things, other television shows and stuff like that. His brother Ian Gordon is played by Spencer McPherson, who has been in a lot of stuff. Stuff that you would recognize. You might know him from Defiance. He was in a few episodes of that. He had the role of Hunter Hollingsworth in Degrassi and the Next Generation, if you followed that. It's a bit outside of my time. He was also in Reign, where he played King Charles the Ninth. So if you watched that, then you would clearly know who he is. Degrassi the Next Class, he reprised his role as Hunter Hollingsworth. And then, of course, there's also Northern Rescue, which I believe, I don't even, is it out? It must be out. I think it's out. Where he was in that. And then finally, the last of the four is Hilda Randall, played by, is it Hilda Randall? No. Yeah? No, Miriam Randall. That's the name of her character. Played by Brittany Raymond. So many dang names because there's families involved, right? And you probably don't know her unless you followed the TV series Lost and Found Music Studios / The Next Step, where she was the Riley character. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about The Next Step. I think it was, is it a dance television series, Teen Deli? I don't know. But yeah, she was in that, and that's pretty much it. She was in it went for many seasons, so that was her big part. And then this is one of her few feature film roles. In terms of their acting, I didn't really have any problems with any of the acting in this film. They all played teenagers, and they're all quite young anyways, so they come across as teenagers. Essentially, the way the writers described it is they were trying to make a movie where, you know, when you're watching slasher films and, you know, the person's trying to get away through one door and the killer is chasing them and they lock it and then they go to the back door and somehow the killer's already there, type thing, that type of thing. How they managed to do that, similar to Leslie Vernon kind of did the same type of thing, but they were trying to tackle it more along the lines of, you know what, we got 4 teenagers, they're planning out these kills, like what all the planning that goes into it, trying to figure out all the different, you know, scenarios that could happen and such like that. So that was one aspect they wanted to tackle. The other aspect was trying to say who does these kind of things, right? And let you know that it could be anybody. There is no real, even though, FBI and such do have a tendency to try and give a persona to a killer or something like that, right? That they're saying that killers could be anybody. They really could be anybody. In this case, we get 2 girls who are kind of upper class. I guess you would say maybe they're bored and that's why they're killing. They're well off. One feels kind of distant from her parents because her parents don't really care, and the other one has loving parents, but for some reason she still gets involved with this. The other 2 are, I wouldn't say upper class, because I mean, as far as I could tell, it seemed like they didn't have a mom. There was no real mention of her, but you see their dad, and he's a cop. So he says he's strict, but I mean, he doesn't come across as strict because he doesn't really do anything when he finds them out past 2 o'clock in the morning on a school night. He just, gives them a little, hey, don't do that again. So yeah, again, the motivations behind these kids is kind of not really explored in the film, and I think that's one of the problems with it. I know the writers want to say it could be anybody, but there should be some kind of motive there should be some kind of reason for these kids to do this, and they don't really give it. They're just, I mean, one clearly does it because he enjoys it. Like, he just wants to do it. Another one is kind of along those, but again, there has to have been more to it. Like, are they, you know, one guy seems to think that he is, maybe his whole motive behind it was he just figures he's so smart that he can get away with it. And that's kind of mentioned, but it's not really developed. But yeah, that's what the, you know, the writer said they were trying to do a film, write a film about. The film has a lot of dialogue, a lot of, you know, just relationship between these four characters in school, in their extracurricular, you know, meetups, and that's mostly what it is. I mean, they do killings. They do killings. It starts off with one opening killing, and then they do go out and do planning for a second one. Is that what it is? Yeah, I think that's what it is. They're planning for the second one. And I think that maybe part of the problem I have with this film is there was nothing really making me want to watch this film. A film about a bunch of teenagers planning to kill people is okay in some regards, and getting behind, you know, into their mindset, but they didn't really get into the mindset of these characters, and they didn't really show the planning of this killing. They just sort of, a lot of the stuff is just sort of mentioned in passing. Yes, they do plan it. You see them planning it, but you don't really see them planning it, you know. And I think that's part of what the writers try and show you is that as much as you know, especially teenagers, as smart as you think you are, you really aren't that smart type thing. And I know Leslie would have had a field day with this, and she would be going on about literally the amount of trace evidence these kids are leaving everywhere at every crime scene is exponential, like crazy amounts. And then there's just stupid things like, and I'll, you know, spoiler alert here, they go to kill a couple, and the couple calls the cops, and the cops will say, well, we think it's just teenagers playing a prank, we're really busy, but we'll have somebody within, you know, 2 hours come by. And the cop comes by, and of course they've already been one of the, you know, like, they've already done the crime type thing, right? So the cop's looking around, and he knows they've called it in, and the lights are all on, like at this house, the lights are all on, not just outside, but inside. And, you know, knocks on the door, rings the doorbell, flashlight in through, saying, you know, I'm the police, and then gets a call about a possible something or other, and immediately goes, oh, well, I guess I'm close. I'll go check that one out. Everything's okay here. How is everything okay? You got a call that people were being, like, harassed or whatever. They are no longer, they won't answer the door. They will not come to, you know, like, you haven't found them when you arrive 2 hours later, and yet everything's okay because you didn't see anything. Yeah, well, no wonder why these kids are able to get away with the crimes. The police force is completely inadequate. They have no idea what they're doing. Yeah. So I did have problems with the film regarding, the police force, because there's all these aspects where they're trying to, you know, they piecing together these murders, but it's pointless to actually have that in the film because they never piece it together. It's not like they solve the case and link it to the kids. If that was the case, sure. But they're just in there, and it's just like, oh, well, we've got this evidence, we've got this evidence. Maybe they're connected. And then they, you know, next time you see the cops, it's like, hey, guys, hey, look, we have all these clues. I think we have a serial killer. And it's just like, okay, but why have them do all this investigation if it amounts to nothing, right? That was a big problem I had with the film. The cops in general, kind of, I don't know, they're inept. It's it was pointless to have them in the film for the most part. Then the kids. The film makes them out to be some kind of like really, you know, like that they're actually pretty good at what they do because they've done this multiple times and have not been caught yet. But at the same time, when you're watching the film, you clearly see that they are also inept and kind of have no idea what they're doing. And it's amazing that they haven't been caught yet. So I had these two portions going along while I'm watching this film. I would have rather had seen, you know, being the cops versus the teenagers and kind of getting down to this last, you know, battle between them or something, like battle of wits or something. That would have made for a much better film in general, I would think. But as it stands, we just sort of get, I would have liked more killings. I would have liked more, you know, like The Strangers or what was the other one? The Visitors or something like that. You know, home invasion films and stuff like that. I would have liked more of that going on. More of actually seeing them plan it out to the nth degree and then watching it happen exactly how they planned it out because they were just that smart. That's kind of what I was hoping for, and I didn't get that. I would have liked to have seen, like I said, I would have liked to have seen the cops piecing together some of this, you know, the clues, and eventually thinking that, you know, whether you want to put a twist at the end of the film or not, you know, going in one direction and putting pieces together to show that it is, you know, that they've got a murderer. They figured out a murderer, but they don't. The film doesn't show that. It just shows interactions between these kids. Essentially, it just shows these high school students interacting with each other, planning out murders and killing people. So, yeah. Technically, well done, well acted. Even the direction, you know what? Kudos to the director, considering such a short period of filming and dealing with a bunch of you know, low budget. I wouldn't say they're unseasoned actors because most of them have been in quite a bit, but managing to bring everybody together and to pull this off. You know, I'm not going to fall. I'm going to have to go back to the writers and say I don't quite think that they put together what, or maybe they didn't really. Maybe the problem is there was two writers. Maybe that's the problem. Sometimes that can be the problem. I don't know. I really have to talk to them a little bit more and get a little bit more in depth. They seem to be on the same page based off of the Q&A that I saw, but yeah, I don't know. There's just. It seemed like there were ideas that were put into the script, but they didn't need to be there, and maybe there was a lot of stuff that was in there and then just hit the, you know, editing floor. I don't know. Anything's possible. But I just feel with the finished ending product that though there are aspects of it that I enjoyed, overall it really didn't give me much. It really did not give me much. And not even just in the fact of what I would have liked to have seen, but what I saw on screen. Like I said, a lot of it just, it didn't work, right? So, if I'm going to give it a rating, I'm going to say probably a 2.5 out of 5. Is it going to get a recommend? Kind of. I think someone like Leslie who's big into true crime and stuff should probably check it out. Just as a passing fancy, I wouldn't say go to see it in theaters or buy it, but you know, you want to, I guess, rent it or see it video on demand or on a streaming service or something like that. It's definitely worth checking out. If you're into more hard, you know, the harder horror, more scary horror, if that's more your thing, this really doesn't give you any of that. Yes, it does have a good climax at the end with, you know, gore. And, well, there is gore through a good amount of gore in the film, considering that it's about, you know, serial killing, but probably not enough to really, you know, make you happy. So yeah, there you go. That's Extracurricular, world premiere, right here. My thoughts. Thanks for watching. Till next video, take care. Have a good one.